This fic may include angst, hurt/comfort, emotional hurt/comfort, it gets worse before it gets better, and parental neglect. That is your warning. Sword of Hope by Ixander on AO3, read by Lily 6645. Chapter 3, Dicks and Decisions. Summary. Trigger warning, suicidal thoughts, and villain attacks. Not going to say too much this time. Still don't know if it makes sense.
Zashi, calm down, please.
Aizawa, stressed and extremely tired, emailed to his currently pacing husband.
He could have gone to a different hospital. He might have been from another city. You have no idea who he was. So please, calm down.
Hypocritical. Hisashi could read his husband pretty damn well, having known him since high school. Shota Aizawa was a hypocrite. He was as worried as Hisashi about the teen that was wounded badly that had just wandered off. Problem child, along with the other kids from UA, they are not his. He doesn't like kids. You don't know that! What if he is out there suffering in some street with no one to help? Hisashi always got more anxious and worked up than Shota, expressed it more, which led to many nights where Shota wouldn't be able to do anything but listen, like now.
Zashi, please, go to sleep. You can wake up tomorrow rested. You had a long day. I will go back in the morning. There's breakfast. No, I didn't make it. It's Nems.
Hisashi looked relieved. It was no secret that Aizawa could not cook, almost set the apartment on fire once. No longer pacing, Hisashi kissed Shota goodbye, whilst the tired man put on the last boot.
Love you. I will see you in the morning.
With that, he was off, and Hisashi was off to bed, now filled with worry for not only two kids, M and green-haired kid, but his husband as well. Eraserhead would be lying if he said he wasn't constantly looking for the kid that ran off from his husband earlier in the year. He was. He wouldn't find him. The kid at that time was asleep in his bed in pain he's too used to. In an empty, cold house with no one around. Eraserhead didn't think of that idea, didn't want to, and God, how he'll regret deciding to store the kid in the back of his mind, finding no reason to keep looking for the kid anymore later in the following year. Mom? Inko stilled. He'd gotten her attention. Now for the big question. I need you to sign. Had been stopped, a voice cutting through, a voice he hadn't heard in a while. God, how he missed that voice. Don't call me that! What? Izuku stopped, finally looking up into his mother's eyes. He couldn't remember the last time she had responded to him, couldn't remember the last time he had been spoken to unless it was an insult or an order. She had told him an order, but it was different. It was her, his mother, for Christ's sake. He's allowed to feel different. I am not your mother since the day you got diagnosed. Izuku would never forget how she said that, diagnosed in such disgust, so much regret in her voice. Not for hurting him, not for basically disowning him, for having him in the first place. That's what she regretted, having him. For he was the reason Hisashi was dead, the reason she had no friends, could barely get a job. Tears already welled up. He remembered the question he still needed answering. I need you to sign something from school, please. Inko? Inko, not mom. Not even mother, just Inko. She held her hand out. He gave her the slip without a sound, for that was the end of the conversation, along with the end of the last strand of hope Izuku had for a family. She signed it without looking, not caring what he did. He thanked the stars above that she hadn't. It was the letter confirming he wanted to go to UA. She would have exploded if she saw that he mused, now silently crying. She left it on the counter she had written it on, and then before she left, she stopped. You can still stay here. Don't bother me. At least he didn't have to go live on the streets of Plead with someone else that was quirkless on a forum to allow him to sleep on their couch. The gratitude of having a house didn't stop him from breaking into sobs of grief of the mother he'd now lost. At some point, he'd ventured into the street, down to the tunnel that led to his middle school. He didn't know where he was going. He was just following the path he knew the most. Trigger warning, choking and near death.
A good meat suit. What a great day this will be!
Izuku turned slowly and, shaking like a deer caught in the headlights, he looked up to the growing villain made of what looked like sludge from the sewers. Izuku, before he could run, was grabbed, held up with sludge coming into his mouth that was forced open by the villain. Laughing, the villain choked him, sludge going down his throat, clotting up in chunks, blocking his throat, stopping him from getting air. Sure, it was the end. Izuku, in indescribable amount of pain, squeezed his eyes shut, legs still flailing, hands still digging helplessly at the sludge.
No need to fear, for I am here!
His last feeling was pained relief. He'd been saved.
Kid, are you okay?
God, he wished he'd stopped shouting. Opening his eyes, feeling a pain in his cheek, he realized that All Might was slapping him. Wait. All Might! Scrambling back, he reached for the notebook he loved, but there it was in All Might's hand, outstretched to give it back to its rightful owner. Now back in his hands, he looked through and saw a double spread All Might signature. Too dazed, he sprouted out whatever thank you he could think of. I'll keep it as a family heirloom, thank you! All Might laughed at that. Izuku's mind must still be on family, for what family did he have left now?
I am honored, young man. Of course, Isuku hadn't told his savior his name. Midoriya, sir! Izuku Midoriya! Standing up, a little clumsy, still short of breath, Sludge must still be inside him. All Might smiled brightly at him, shouting like he always did. Well, young Midoriya, I must be off. Lots to do. Have to get this villain to the police. Yes, the villain. Izuku knew he was forgetting something. What was it that he wanted to hear from All Might when he was younger? What was it? Damn it! Right! All Might, sir, if I may. He would have asked the question if it hadn't been cut off. Exactly what his Inko did. As All Might was going to jump, Izuku decided to do something extremely risky. He'll blame the sludge later. He grabbed onto All Might's leg as the hero shot off into the sky, not realizing he had a kid attached to him. Hey, young Midoriya, what are you doing? Please remove yourself from my leg. Is the hero serious? Izuku thought and told him what he thought. He'd die if he let go. The hero dropped them both at some nearby roof, not far from the street he knew well enough. At least he wasn't lost. I'm sorry, sir. I must know I wanted to be a hero since I was a kid. It's always been my dream, and, well, I just wondered, could I be a hero without a quirk? All his last hope of his last dream rested in this man's hands. Looking up, Izuku screamed. That was not All Might. He was skinny, zombie-like, yellow-haired old man. Imposter! Zombie All Might coughed at that, spitting blood everywhere. Izuku had half a mind to leg it. But how did he one punch a villain like All Might? Similar quirk? Izuku doubted it. Sitting down, the old man began his story. Izuku was in shock. All Might, mortally wounded and didn't retire? Is he an idiot? Sorry, sir, but why didn't you retire? All Might looked at the teen with a grimace. A friend asked me to, but I refused. I am All Might. I can't just retire. It made sense. It would lead the country into some state of panic. Crime rate would go up until someone, Endeavor probably, took the spot of the number one hero. Doesn't mean All Might should be fighting. His wound qualified for definite retirement. Sorry, but I must ask you not to tell anyone about my situation, young man. It could cause terrible things to occur. Izuku couldn't help thinking that All Might talked to him like he was 10. It was okay, though. Izuku would let it slide. All Might was his favorite hero, after all. Izuku still found it surreal that he had met this idiot. Of course not, sir! I wouldn't dream of it! Izuku meant it. He knew this was most likely a government secret with many gag orders. He's surprised he's not made to sign anything, or at least Inko should. You had a question about being a quirkless hero, correct? Startled, Izuku hesitantly nodded, not knowing what the outcome of this new topic would be. Yes, I always wanted to be a hero, you see, but I have no quirk, and I
wondered if you believed someone like me could be a hero. Younger Izuku would have been beaming, jumping around in ecstasy, waiting with big, starry eyes, looking at his idol.
No, I don't believe a quirkless person could become a hero. I'm sorry. There are many other safer careers that help people, doctors and police officers, that would be more suited for someone in your situation.
All Might did look apologetic, but he had no clue in the world about what he's really just said. Izuku fell back, sitting on the roof. All Might left him alone there. How quick it would be. His dreams gone. His idol no longer gave him that same giddy feeling inside his chest. No more would a swoop happen deep in his stomach if he saw All Might. How quick it would be instead. Who would miss him? If his childish dream is gone, taken by someone who shouldn't have had any right to steal what was once his, if his mother didn't want him any longer, his dad gone long ago. At that last thought, Izuku took out the necklace from under his shirt and held the charm in his hand. The sword, warm from being covered up by his clothes. It provided comfort for Izuku. He thought it was stupid, a simple necklace being the only thing left in this stupid world that could bring him comfort. It wasn't the first time he'd thought of jumping. He'd been told repeatedly to kill himself in various ways. He had considered it many times, especially when Bakugo told him to. In Izuku's mind, gracefully taking a swan dive off the roof of the school. That was when Kachan became Bakugo to Izuku. It was the last straw, just like Inko. All Might's words stuck with him. He didn't believe a quirkless hero could exist. His opinion, the major opinion, but an opinion still, not a fact. He'd just have to try to be the first. If his father, the bravest hero Izuku knew, thought his son could be a hero, Izuku was damn sure he'd try and make it happen, even if it kills him by a villain's hand or his. He was heavily leaning towards his hand, but not yet. It wasn't his time just yet. He still had one person. Whether they cared or not, they were still there and alive. Present Mike's, my new favorite hero, that was alive at least, was all Izuku allowed himself to think. Whilst he was stepping away from the edge, it wasn't his time yet. He just have to help himself, and if that doesn't work, he'll know where to go. That is the end of Chapter 3 and what is currently out of Sword of Hope by Ixander on AO3. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go support the original author. Links in the description below. Thank you. Hope you have a great night, day, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, kittens!